I think we're going to start. Thank you so much for the people who have made time to join today's session. I don't want to take much of our time. Let me introduce myself to everyone. Some we've interacted, some maybe this is the first time that we are getting to interact. My name is Salima Njoki Masharia. I work with Inuka Kenya as a wellness program officer, a program that we are implementing in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, just to ensure that our civic actors work in a safe and secure environment, just ensuring that we inculcate mental health practices at our workplaces. So it's been really a difficult time in our country, Kenya, with the recent protests that we all know, and maybe for some of us, is just so traumatizing, just witnessing loss of life, loss of property, people being maimed, people being killed, people being hurt. All this then have a bearing on our mind, our relationships with others, also affects our productivity at work. And we felt it is important just to have this discussion today so that at least we can support each other, we can stand in the gap, we can just have tools and resources to be able to cope and manage what is happening in our country. And before I invite the facilitator of today, I just want to invite us just to observe a minute of silence, to celebrate and to honor the people who've gone before us, just because they were asking and demanding for a better country, a better future, a better economy, a just and equal society for all of us. So kindly just take a moment, however you want to do it. If you want to do it in form of a reflection, of a prayer, and just we observe a moment of silence in honor of our comrades, our children, our brothers and sisters who went before us. Thank you. Without further ado, I just want to invite our facilitator of today, a person who's very close to me, a mentor, my teacher who taught me psychology, a person that I hold in very high regard, a person that journeys with me in my difficult time. So I don't want to do a lot of intro. I know he is good at that. So welcome, Dominic, and just run with this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If you can hear me, could you just say yes on the chat section so that just you're here. You're here, you can hear me, you can see me. Please, yes, type in yes on the chat section. Yeah, be with us. I'm really hoping that you're here and you can hear me and you're ready for the conversation that you're gonna have. So yes, type in yes. I'm happy to see all the yeses coming in. So this being a webinar, I am hoping that you keep the chat alive so that I know that you're with me. And unlike a live session, there's no way, in-person session. I'm hope the feedback you give me is by keeping the chat section alive. So yes, lots of yeses coming in, that you are paying attention, you're with me. Yeah, if you have not typed in yes, please try to do so. Be part of today. So my name is Kamamwangi. Yeah, you can see lots of yeses coming in. Fantastic. Yes, keep the yeses coming. My name is Kamamwangi, and I am a psychologist, as Salima has mentioned. And I'm happy to be here with all of you. I will be taking you through this session. Just a minute to get my house in order. Just a second. Okay. Can see lots of yeses here. Thank you for sending them in. And I don't know if is there a question? Okay. That is seen. Okay. Lovely, 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 lovely. It's a bit of a technology issue here. Just display settings. Okay. There you go. I wanted to tune that. Okay. So I've been a psychologist now for 10 years plus, and part of it has been as a lecturer in Tangaza, and that's where I met Salima when a psychology qualification. And today we're going to talk about post-protest trauma and fatigue. And I want us to be engaged as much as you can. Please be engaged with today's conversation. That would be the best thing that can happen, so it does not become in any way, by any stretch, boring. And again, I want to thank all of you, especially for being at the center, having the courage and the motivation and the drive and the care and the sense of justice to go out and help people who are struggling by standing in the face of injustice in the way that you saw it best. So in all the way that you have been participating, man, kudos to you and more power to you, and may you have all the graces that you need to continue doing this. I come from an organization called Myafia Africa. And at Myafia Africa, what we try to do is provide therapy, to provide mental health support to you, to individuals, to groups, virtually. So in case you want a therapist, by the way, even after this, you can just go to our platform and select from a list of therapists the person who you feel matches your needs, and you simply start having an online session. Yeah. So that's what we do. So if you want, you can easily go to our site. I have posted it also on the chat section, and you just book in there, and you can talk to us and be very much willing to help you. And I'm going to be putting that in context as we go by. Okay, now, what is trauma? Yeah, we're going to talk about trauma. But before we do that, wherever you are, let's do a bit of some breath work, a little bit of a breath work, just to center ourselves. To center ourselves would be necessary. Breath work is one of the best ways to manage anxiety. So if you are not driving, so because if you're driving, please don't close your eyes and do this. But wherever you are, if it's possible for you, I would want you just to pull your seat back if you can, sit at the very back of your chair, so that your spine is straight, and put your hands on your lap. And just take some deep breaths, and you inhale through the nose and exhale slowly through your mouth. Okay, so inhale through the nose and exhale slowly through your mouth. So you're going to do that 3 times. So in and breathe from the stomach, not from the chest as much as you can, and exhale slowly through your mouth. So let's go. Okay, 1, exhale. 1 more. Exhale. Again. Exhale. Now I want you to keep still. And as you keep still, if you can close your eyes if you're comfortable. If you're not, that's okay. What I want you to do is I want you to do a quick body scan. Now, a body scan is just starting from your feet, being aware of your feet. You're not moving your feet, you're just being aware, the sensations around your feet. Then you go all the way up, your body all the way to the top of your head. And I'm gonna be guiding you with that. So if you want to close your eyes, feel free to do so. If you don't want to, also that's okay. It would be nice if you can close your eyes so that you don't feel distracted. But if you're in a place where you think that might look awkward and you don't want to do that, okay, that's okay, that's also okay. But you can still do the body scan. Okay, so we start with the awareness of our feet resting on the floor. We are not moving them, just being aware of the feet, the contact between our feet and the floor. And then be aware of our feet within our shoes or whatever it is that we are wearing, socks, sandals. Just be aware. And be aware of the ankle of your foot, your shin, calf muscle. So you keep going up slowly to your knees. Be aware of your knees. Now be aware of your hands resting on your lap, just the contact between your hands and your lap. Be aware. Keep your head up straight, your spine straight. I want you to take in again, deep inhale through the nose and slowly through the mouth. 3 times. We go. Continue breathing normally and continue with the scan. Being aware of your lap, of your hands resting on your lap. Now be aware of whatever it is that you're sitting on, the contact between your body and whatever it is that you're sitting on or lying on or leaning on. Just be aware of that contact without moving your body, just the contact, allowing your body to relax. Bring your awareness to your waist, to your stomach as it rises and falls as you breathe in and out. Just be aware of that motion of the stomach. Be aware of your chest area. Any tension, try to pay attention if there's any tension, any stress, any heaviness. And try to imagine that as you breathe in, you're breathing into that heaviness, to that tension. And as you breathe out, you're breathing out that tension, letting it leave. Be aware of your shoulders. Again, any tension, allow them to relax. Don't hold them tightly. Allow them to relax. And as you remain there, do again 3 deep inhales and exhales. We go. Exhale always through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Now I want you to make a fist with both of your hands. Just make a fist. And we're starting with the right hand. I want you to tighten your fist tightly as much as you can. Hold it, hold it, hold it, and then relax. And be aware of that relaxation happening on your hand. And I want you to do that once again. With your right hand, make a fist. Tighten the fist. You can feel the tension all the way to your shoulders, and then let it relax. Okay, very good. We're gonna do the same with our left hand. Tighten your hand, tighten your hand. Kapisa, hold it, and then relax. Just be aware of that relaxation happening on your hand. Okay, tighten your hand again, tighten your hand again. Okay, and let it go. Right. Okay, then be aware of your neck muscles. You can twist your hair, your neck a little bit, from the right to the left, back and forth. Okay, just be aware, then bring your awareness around your head, your face muscles. Bring your awareness around your eyes, nose, around your lips, your chin, your cheeks, your ears. Just bring that awareness. If you can tighten all of your body at once, from your hands feet, legs, tighten your body, and then relax. Deep inhale through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Last one in through the nose. And as you exhale, you can open your eyes. Okay, very good. Thank you very much. You can open your eyes now. I hope you feel, even if it's just a little bit of a relaxation, you can tell me in the chat section whether you feel, even if slightly restful, stressed, even if slightly calmer. Okay, very good. Mkenya fulani is smiling. What happened, Mkenya fulani? Amondi, Awor, what happened? Talk to me. Yeah. Darlene says that feels great. I like that. Yeah. Gordon says in Imambi naendelea. That is not. That is simply a mindfulness exercise. It was not prayer. Some sort of relaxation and relief. Okay, so even before we start even talking about the presentation today, if you know you struggle with anxiety, and even if you don't, you can be practicing these kind of exercises where you tighten your body, different parts of your body, starting with your feet, your hands, and then allowing them to relax, focusing on your breath, and you can even, if you're good at visualization, you can visualize a calm place, so that when you close your eyes, like the image on the screen, you can visualize a calm place and then allow yourself to go there, okay? And then simply focus on your breath, okay? Occasionally doing deep breaths as we have done. So what we have done is good. Sometimes if you know you have a friend, maybe you're doing this work which sometimes can bring a lot of anxiety, you can be doing these exercises often, often, to build a muscle to you. We call that in psychology vagal tone, to build a vagal tone, which allows you to be present even in moments of high anxiety, high intensity. But you want to build that internal muscle by doing these exercises often, that breath work, you can do it. If you're feeling tense, I can see Audrey saying, feel good now, fresh here, feel a bit relaxed. Opondo says, our tightening of fist made me body relax, I was tense, good. Victoria, I'm present. Olivia, feels nice, great. Amondi, re-energizing, some sort of relaxation and relief. Moses, thank you very much. Also the Rosilla, very relaxing. So these exercises can be good. I know you may not be in a place to practice at the moment, but it will be good to exercise as much as you can. Now, let's talk about trauma. Without leaving Zoom, what I want you to do, I want you to go to menti.com. Okay, you'll go to menti.com. So www.menti.com. And then you're gonna put that code, enter code 84629692. Okay. So you go to menti.com, they will ask you to enter code to vote. Then 84629692 will be the code. And what I want you to do there, is simply answer the question, what is trauma? Okay. So for now, I'm gonna leave this site so that we can share this different one. So again, you're going to menti.com. And you are answering. You're taking the code that you can see on your screen. Yeah, I hope you can see the code on your screen. You can see the code on your screen. Yeah, 84629692. Okay. So I hope you can see my screen. Right there. Okay. Enter code to vote. Use code. They'll ask you to use code. Then the question will be, what is trauma? Okay. If someone is having any trouble, please ask me and I'm going to respond. If you're having trouble, let me know and I'm going to respond. So you're going to menti.com. You don't have to leave Zoom. Okay. You go just to menti.com and you're going to be asked for a code. The code is there on the screen, but I'm going to read it out. 84629692. Okay. And then you're going to have the question, what is trauma? And then you simply answer, what do you think it is, according to you? I can see one person has written, it's a horrible experience, okay? Someone has said, a memory about an incident that is stuck in your mind. Memory about an experience that is stuck in your mind. Very good. Good responses. Keep the responses coming. Yeah. Then someone has said feelings or events that happened in the past that trigger an emotional response. Okay. Very good. A response to a tragic incident that affected you. Yeah. The stress that comes after an experience, usually a horrible one. Okay, usually a horrible one. Good answers that are coming in. I like these answers. You see, you've thought this through. It's the effect of pain, the psychological wound, Okay, so I can see we do have a very good sense of what trauma is. Yeah, we do have a very good sense of what trauma is. So physical, mental, emotional response to a bad experience. The physical, mental, emotional response to a bad experience, okay? Someone here writes overwhelming emotional, psychological, and physical disturbance after a horrible, I guess, remember there's a limited amount of words, okay? So I'm guessing about after a horrible experience, okay? I guess that's what you mean. Yeah, horrible experience, correct. Physical and mental response to a bad experience, well, okay. Then we have an experience that has an adverse effect on one's emotional well-being. An experience that has an adverse effect on one's emotional well-being. Yes, good answer. Reflections of horrible experiences. Okay, okay, very good. Response to stressful events, okay, that is difficult to cope with or forget. Response to stressful events, okay. A tragedy, atrocity, big terms, very big terms, okay. So I can see the responses are coming. If you're having trouble responding, please let me know, and then we can help you figure this out. So as you can see, yeah, quite a number of you do have very strong awareness, very healthy awareness, or quite good knowledge of what a trauma is. Okay. Now we are going to go back and to the same place. I want you to, you're going to refresh your site. Just refresh. Okay. You're going to refresh. When you refresh, the question will change. What do you think are the symptoms of trauma? How would you know if someone has trauma? Like a friend of yours, a colleague has trauma. How would you know? How would you know? What are the symptoms? So I just want you to refresh. Just pull down the screen or refresh your tab or close and redo it. And then you'll get the question, okay? Then I just want you to put one word. Don't put too many words, okay? So don't put too many words, the code, okay, yeah, Salima has put the code, okay. The code is also on the screen, So put one word or two, don't put an explanation, just one word or two. What's a symptom of trauma, okay? Just one word or two, okay? Don't type too many words. You have a chance to put one word or two. Very good, I can see them coming, right, fantastic. So hallucinations, confusion, tension, anger, nightmares, fear, anxiety, silence, scared, right? Wow. 11 responses from 8 people. Very good. Yeah, keep them coming. If you're having trouble doing this, participating in this, again, let me know and we're going to assist. So anxiety seems to be a big word. It's still a big word at the center. A lot of us seem to experience that, or at least understand that that is one manifestation of trauma. Okay, 10 of us have participated, and I can see a reaction, tension, silence, sadness, confusion, fear, anger. Okay, so anxiety is still at the very center of so many of us, the experience of so many of us, but now fear and anxiety now seem to be competing. Fear, anxiety, they are different. Of course, fear and anxiety are different, psychologically speaking, but yes, they also have some certain similarities. Addiction or addictive, okay, emotional, sadness, amnesia, okay. So I hope you mean amnesia, not insomnia, I guess, amnesia, forgetfulness, okay. And problems with memory, hallucinations, anger, confusion, silence, fearful nightmares, pain, fear, Okay, scared, tension, right, right. So these are possible signs and symptoms of a person going through trauma. And you're going to be exploring this. We're going to be exploring this. So thank you for participating. Thank you for participating. So anxiety and fear. Thank you for participating, the 14 of you who have managed. I know maybe some of us, others could be having trouble. Jerry, the code is there, 848462. Yeah, just up the chat section. Just up the chat section, it's there. Let me paste also for you once again, but we are done anyway for now because of the purpose of time. But I can see that you're participating, those who, those of you managed. I know there could be some technological issues, and that is quite okay. All right. So thank you for participating on that. It gives us a sense of where we are at when we are talking about trauma. Okay, it gives us a sense. And thank you for participating, as I mentioned to you. That is useful. It helps us to keep the conversation going. Now, what is trauma? If you want to take some notes, feel free to do so. And if you have any question at any one time as I continue present, do let me know, and I'm gonna pause. So keep the chat section burning. Okay. Now, what is trauma? Trauma is an adverse experience, a serious, significantly negative experience or events that we encounter across our life that can evoke or provoke or get from us great discomfort, fear, pain, distress, confusion. And some of these words we have used them. Some of us have mentioned them, in the discussion that we just had. Okay, so discomfort, great fear, pain, distress, and confusion. Okay, that's one way of looking at trauma. And we usually say trauma is event and person complex. Event and person complex. Okay, what does that mean? It means this, that every event, for it to be traumatic, it might meet a certain person with their particular personality, with their particular context and individuality. Okay, so what that means is two people can experience the same events, but one person may be affected more than the other. Why? Because it is also meeting a particular person. So two events do not have to apply to the same person equally. What does that mean? It means that not everyone develops trauma, very, very important, but also just because you can manage certain potentially traumatic experiences does not mean everyone can. Okay, so it's important to understand that something that may not be trauma for 10 people may be traumatic for one or two. Okay, there are people who can watch I was just reading some comments of, I don't know, there seems to be a certain horror movie on Netflix, and the reviews, or there was an article saying how people got traumatized by watching that, and other people are saying, what was so big about it? Okay, so it's important to understand that for trauma, for PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder to happen, it's not simply about the event, but also of the person. For each of us, we all have different thresholds, and to understand our threshold is important. What is my muscle strength? Okay, so therefore, we usually say that trauma has 3 E's. It has 3 E's. Number one is the event. So the events that you saw, the event that you participated in. Remember, it's not just a matter of witnessing, it also could be doing. Sometimes we may forget that sometimes doing something evil can itself be traumatic. A policeman who maybe shot this person and maybe saw this person die may actually also be going through PTSD, in one way or maybe more intense way than the person who saw this person die. Okay, now I'm not saying that all things are equal. I'm just speaking psychologically. I'm not speaking about a matter of justice or not. I'm simply saying that trauma can happen in those circumstances. So even soldiers of war sometimes have PTSD, not so much because of what they saw, what they experienced there, maybe in war, but also what they did. Maybe they shot somebody, and they saw that someone die and it affected them in a very big manner. Okay, so the series of events or set of circumstances that is experienced by an individual, by a person, by you, as physically or emotionally harmful or life-threatening, and that has lasting effects. Okay, has lasting effects. So it has those three. Okay, an event, experience with the how do you experience it, and it has lasting effects. So those three, those three are very important. The 3 E's of trauma. So in particular, now to protest. Like there's the event of protesting. You are protesting. You are on the streets, and you got hit, by this by a stray bullet or whatever it is, a stone. Huh? You got fired at. Even if the bullet didn't hit you, you got fired at. Okay, or you saw someone collapse, or or whatever painful thing that you saw. We're gonna maybe share about it. Okay. What is it that you experienced? What is it that you saw? What was the event? Okay, that's the protest. What did you experience? What did you experience? That is important. I survived one day what you call a mob justice. People mistook us for Mungiki in a certain group, and they gathered and they were shouting and ready to beat us. Some of us developed post-trauma after that event because it was a very near-death experience. But then others, some of us also are looking at that event very comically. Okay, after we survived, I mean, it was a near-death experience, but the interpretation, how did you experience it, and what are the lasting effects from that? Okay, so now I want us to assess. I want you to assess your post-traumatic stress disorder, okay? Because it's important. We might discuss about this thing today, and then you don't know exactly how you feel. So I am going to give you a link, and I want you to go there and assess your level of post-traumatic stress disorder, okay? So you click on that link that is on the chat section, and you fill it out. You fill it out. Go follow that link. It's going to assess our level right now, even before we go into the details of it. But we just don't speak about this, okay? So click on that link and fill out that assessment. How do you know if it's actually trauma? I don't know if that makes sense. Okay, we're going to come back to this, Darlene, but in the meantime, fill the question and we will see. We shall see, Darlene. Just follow that link and we shall see whether or not it was traumatic or it's actually trauma. Psychology has developed very good assessment methods of knowing if someone has trauma. And now you have a chance to assess yourself. And if you want, you can share the results here. Once you've done filling, it's going to take us a few minutes. So I'm giving you a few moments, like let's say 3, 4, 5 minutes or so to fill it out. And once you fill it out, please come back. I'm not going to continue until I will resume around 4:45. Yeah, to allow us to fill out. And then if you want, you can share the results. You can share the results here in the chat section if you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable, you can send to me directly. Also here in the chat section, you can just select a direct message to me. If you're not comfortable sharing with everybody, but follow that link on the chat section. I hope we are filling it out already. Even as you listen to me, follow that link, follow the prompts, fill out the questions. It will be good to know right here whether we are experiencing those feelings. Okay, I have resent it. Audrey, it's right there. So that assessment is for PTSD. Okay, so you just scroll and continue. Participation in the self-screening is voluntary. So this self-screening exercise does not replace a comprehensive assessment by a qualified health practitioner. Okay, that is quite okay. Yeah. So this assessment is by Chiromo, one of the mental health. As you can see there at the top, CHG, Chiromo Health Group. So it is an assessment that is done there. Okay. So giving you moments to respond. Then you can share with us if you want at the end the results you get at the bottom. Yeah, the results you get at the bottom. What do they tell you? Tell me what is the result. And even after today, you can have a conversation with us at myafia.africa, or even with people like Salima Macharia, who are qualified also to help you understand the results. Okay, so feel free to do so. If you're having any trouble filling out that, let me know, and then we're gonna continue. So if you're having trouble filling out that part or the answers to that link, please do let me know, and then we can deal with that. We can help you. And once you fill out and you get the answers, maybe I will ask a few of us to share what that experience was like, or what it is that they've gotten, those who might feel comfortable to do that. I'm not going to ask everyone to answer, okay? Scored 30. Darlene, very good. So what does that mean? What did the score tell you what 30 is? Yeah. Okay. No sign of PTSD. Very good. Now you know. See? Now you know. Yeah. Okay, waiting for others to come in. Okay, Shakira, 29. So check and see what it is telling you right there. Score 22, no PTSD, very good. Jackie, 29, what does, I want you to also interpret for yourselves that you know, 35, it should tell you, Shakira, check, go back and check. Diane, what did they tell you? Yeah, Joyous, 54, indicative of PTSD symptoms. Diana, 22, no PTSD. I should mention to you at the very beginning. Diana, I can see your eyes, so I know what those eyes would mean. So it should tell you at the end what your responses are. Can see others coming in. Keep them coming. If you're comfortable, feel free to put your answers if you're comfortable. If you feel there might be judgment, don't. So just below, your score is indicative of PTSD symptoms or not. So once they give you the results, just below that, your score is, then there's a line, your score is, what do they say? So pay attention to that. Your score is 56, is indicative of PTSD. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Victorine. Now, I think we can see what the results are telling us. Okay, what the results are telling us, and why we should pay attention to these scores. Okay, now why we should pay attention to these scores. Okay. Yeah, let me see what the chat section is saying. Indicative of PTSD. Grace, 22. My score is 45. Dr. C. Shrink. Yeah. Victorine, Fridaus Hussein, indicative of PTSD. Jerry, 48. That should be indicative also. You do not meet the criteria for PTSD. Okay. Irene, very good. Dorosila, 15. That should be below. Moss says indicative of PTSD symptoms, fracture, Wamboi, 13, no PTSD. Okay. So please keep these results coming in so far as you're comfortable. Edwin, indicative of PTSD, 52. Yeah. So again, so you can tell that some of us do indeed have post-traumatic stress disorder. Some of us do have. So even if you do not have, it's good to continue with this session so that you know so that you know, even for others, even for the future, for your own benefits. Francis Kamunya, 12, that will be below. Florence Mwikali Amusha, so that is below. Rose, I have shared. You're welcome. So please, that is important to know where you lie, to know where you lie. And for those of us who want to share more, please do so. Please do so. Okay. And now let's go into this. Those who are still please finish. Terry Owino, indicative of PTSD symptoms. Okay, so this should not scare you. Okay, it should just make you aware that you need to take care of your mental health. It just should make you aware that you need to take care of mental health. Maybe, and then you're gonna be looking at what you can do. I can see two psychologists here, Irene Karathi and Salima. Yeah, so they can also help you in that process. Okay. So for those others who are still doing it, please share with us if you're comfortable to share your results here, as we have already done. And as I'm mentioning to you, this should not be a cause for concern, as it were. It should be a call to action. No, a call to action. I need to do something for my mental health. Okay, good. Now, let's talk about PTSD. So the symptoms. Okay, we have spoken about what PTSD is. What are some of the possible symptoms? Okay, now intrusive symptoms. So you have these recurring unwanted images and thoughts of the traumatic event and dreams or nightmares about it. Okay, so nightmares about it, and especially if your sleep is being interfered with, then it's very, very difficult to overcome also PTSD, because sleep is what in psychology we call the overnight therapist, because one of the sleep, so you sleep in 4 stages. One of the sleep stages helps your brain to dislodge heavy emotions from certain events, and so that you can overcome. Okay, so nightmares, dreams. Okay, avoidant symptoms. Okay, so knowingly or subconsciously avoiding certain places. Maybe those places, that's where the police attacked you, or some goons or whoever they are. Watching certain videos that remind you of a terrifying experience that you saw, or things or people that remind you of the original traumatic event. So maybe you see someone on a border, and maybe you were attacked by someone with a border. Okay, and that makes you quite uncomfortable. So avoidant symptoms. Okay, because maybe something happened during the protest, and when you see those spaces, those places, those videos, people, things, you're like, no, I don't want to see that. So avoidant symptoms. Then there is changes in mood and thinking. So depressive symptoms such as sadness. And so this is important to realize. Okay, sadness can happen, panic attacks. You're having panic attacks where you're sweating, your heartbeat is, raises. Okay, you become fidgety. Numbness, numbing of your emotions. What are you feeling? I don't know, nothing. Oh, are you feeling? No, I'm not feeling anything. Okay, irritability towards yourself. You are highly critical of yourself now. Highly critical of yourself. Your inner conversation, your inner dialogue is one of putting yourself down, or irritability towards other people. Now, it's important to realize that oftentimes, on average, again, not all the time, that women might show more of sadness, okay, and men might show more of irritability, aggression. And so sometimes, and that's why sometimes even domestic violence, gender-based violence, sometimes is difficult to help, because whereas a woman may show her depression by being sad and quiet, or maybe by in other inward ways, men show their mental illness by aggression on average. Okay, so loss of pleasure, like I just don't enjoy the things that I used to enjoy anymore. A sense of guilt, okay, could also be there. Shame also, and over focus on negative things. Now you are really obsessed with negative things, negative conversations. You complain even way too much than before, and that can push people away, by the way, because you're particularly negative now. You have this doom mentality that bad things might happen or will happen, and a feeling of emotional and physical exhaustion, like you're just tired. You can sleep, but still you feel tired. You just constantly have this sense of emotional exhaustion and physical exhaustion, like literally just tired. Like I have been working in the farm, but nothing. It's not anything like that. Just tired. Okay. Then you can have what you call an alteration in arousal or reactivity. I'm going to explain what that means. It just basically your stress response networks have been sensitized by the protest, by that gunfire. So now that's why people, okay, being overactive and overly reactive. Now you have anxiety, you're hyper vigilant. Okay, something so little wakes you up from your bed. You can't even sleep deeply. Okay, someone touches you and immediately, you get startled. You hear some noise, you get startled. You see people running, you get startled. Your heart rate increases. Okay, startle response, hypervigilance, always on the watch. Your body does not even want to rest. Now you always, and that is very demanding. You have high adrenaline on your body constantly, and high and variable heart rate. Okay, your heart rate keeps, increasing and decreasing, and you have sleep problems. Either you are sleeping so much, too much, and still not enough, or you are struggling with insomnia. You barely can sleep, 2, 3 hours, and you are up and you have energy. And you're like, is it that by 3 hours are enough? No, it's that you're so hyper vigilant. Your body is always ready for war, always ready for war. Okay. So those are some of the symptoms that you can look out for. For trauma. I can see a lot of you are still sending the results, and I hope after just below the results, you can see what you are advised. You can see what you are advised, whether it's indicative of symptoms. So if you have experienced some of these, tell me in the chat section also. Have you experienced some of these symptoms? Have you experienced some of these symptoms even as we go by? So I will be pausing to look at the chat section, but I would really encourage you to talk to me in the chat section that, yeah, maybe one of these four, I have been experiencing this. It's important to normalize this conversation around mental health, because some of us could be feeling I can't share this stuff. But if you're courageous enough to say, yeah, I actually have been having panic attacks since the last demonstration. I have been negative more than usual. I have noticed that I'm negative more than usual now. I'm really saying something positive, or I'm really grateful now. I'm really optimistic. I've become quite negative. I'm having nightmares. So if you see something that is happening to you, you can type in the chat section. Now, in here, just connected with this what we call vicarious trauma. Vicarious trauma. Now, what is vicarious trauma? Vicarious from the word vicar, which means on behalf of. The vicar. So in a church, we have the concept of the vicar. Okay, so vicarious trauma is the trauma we experience when we see someone else suffering. So we are not the one who witnessed the event, but we are hearing. Like, let's say I'm a counseling psychologist, I'm a therapist. I can have vicarious trauma by listening to someone telling me about a story of sexual abuse or assault, or a scary experience that they had. And therapists can experience this, lawyers can experience this. Those of us who are in the habit of standing in the gap for other people can experience vicarious trauma. Okay, so seeing someone else suffer, maybe that's what took you to the street. Okay, so you want to also ask yourself whether yours is more of vicarious trauma. So it comes from, especially when we have this empathy and emotional overload. Okay, so we have deep empathy, people who are suffering, and this can lead to emotional overload and a blurred boundary between my own experience and those of someone who is surviving trauma. So again, you need to be careful, because sometimes the more you listen and you observe and you're trying to care for someone, maybe in your life, there's a child, there's someone in your family who has a disability or a sickness that requires constant care, and seeing them suffer that much can also pass on to you, okay? Knowing what they went through, and that boundary starts to become thinner and thinner, such that you start having trauma as if you are the one who went through that experience in the past. Okay, so when you see other people suffer like that, it can change your belief system, your worldview, your values, about safety. Is the world a safe place? Is Kenya a safe place? Can I trust the government? Can I trust the people around me? Can I trust myself? Okay. and the nature of humanity. I think people are just evil. You hear people speaking like this. People are just evil. People become cynical and negative about humanity, about human nature, about the society, about the governance. Okay, so there is that. I have seen people suffer, you say, and that is affecting you so much that you don't even realize how slowly it is changing the way you view the world. And you might think that you're becoming wiser or smarter, but you could just becoming cynical. And sometimes there's a very thin line for people. People tend to confuse being cynical with being wise. Okay. So being cynical means you no longer see the potential for good. You no longer are able to confront and fight, and see the potential for good in yourself, in your society, in the governance, in social processes. You become cynical. You've become even cynical about God himself. Like, where is God when all these things are happening? So these are the cognitive shifts that might happen. Okay. And then emotionally, just like trauma, you might have anxiety and depression and irritability and emotional exhaustion. I've already mentioned this to you. And of course, behavioral changes start to happen. You start now experiencing social withdrawal. What is social withdrawal? You just want to be in your house. You just want to be in your room alone. Please leave me alone. You don't want to return phone calls. When you see your phone ringing, your immediate sense is irritation. Why are they calling me? Leave me alone. Okay. Hey, so and so, let's go out. No, just leave me alone. I just want to withdraw. I don't even want to go to work. So there's even decreased job performance. There is no that commitment to it, that sense of excellence. There's more distraction. Okay. And even you have trouble maintaining professional boundaries, it's important to know this is a time for work and this time to be home. And when I am home, I am not at work. I am here and I pay attention. I'm here now. So you have difficulty, maintaining professional boundaries. Even at 12 a.m. at night, you are still at work. Okay, there's no home and work. You still carry work home. There are some countries like in France right now where they have made it illegal for bosses to call their juniors after work hours. So if work is between 8 and 5, it is illegal for a supervisor or a boss or a leader to send an email or a call to someone after those work hours. So, you can send an email to be responded later, but to call them, to ask them for work is illegal unless, of course, you give them overtime. So, because there's a greater awareness in some of these societies of the importance of professional boundaries. Okay. And especially for those of us who are in this process of fighting for justice, it's very possible to develop what you call a savior complex. A savior complex is where your identity and your sense of self-esteem and self-worth comes from saving people, from helping people. And it's so difficult to change because it feels like virtue, but it actually can drain you and destroy you and kill you and make you resentful and angry and upset. So savior complex is something you want to watch out for very, very carefully. And one of the ways to know whether you have savior complex is you're not very good at taking care of yourself, but you're very good at taking care of other people. So, and you want to be careful about that because it will actually leave you at a place where you feel cynical about you because it's not reciprocity. Because you are teaching people that I am always there for you as a tool, as a slave, as a servant. And there's no reciprocity between a slave and a master. And so the moment you start expecting reciprocity, people become resistant to you because that's not the contract they signed with you. That's not the contract of relationship they signed with you. And so you want to be careful about that because sometimes those of us who really desire to see justice in the world and we care about people, it's a big temptation to have a savior complex, such that we completely neglect ourselves. We will encourage others to take medication, but we'll forget to even go to the hospital ourselves. We'll encourage others to go for therapy, but we don't go for therapy ourselves. We want to defend others, but we don't defend ourselves. Okay. So it's important to be aware of that temptation towards the savior complex. Okay. So now talk to me. So, and then physical symptoms, headaches, gastrointestinal issues. You're always bloated. You have gas issues, stomach issues, and other stress-related physical ailments because of what happened. Okay, because of what happened. Now, talk to me in the chat section. Have you experienced any of the above? Are you with me, by the way? Ama unajua uko nini na happen huko nyuma tafadhali. Have you experienced any of the of the above that you're discussing? Talk to me. Huh? I'm taking some few. Yes. This is where most as human rights defenders we fall. It's a big load on us. Grace Allah. Do you mean the savior complex? Is that what you are talking about? Yeah. Please talk to me. If you have good internet where you are and you want to have a conversation, please talk to me. Yeah. Have you experienced any of this? If you want to say something, please raise your hand. Then I can see, and then we can chat. If your internet is good, your audio is great. Yes, severe complex. Grace, thank you. Yeah, Darlene, where I think I'm culprit on one of these. Yeah, to be careful of that. To be careful. Yes, Diana Michael, please go ahead. Diana Michael, I can see your hand is up. If you can unmute and say something, yeah, please go ahead. Allow me to speak. Oh, am I the one who's allowed to talk? Okay, please go ahead.
Hi, Dominic.
Hi, Diana.
So I'm also a mental health professional, but I have found myself deep in the activism part of things.
Right.
And the dilemma I find myself in is, you talk about the savior complex, but the dilemma I find myself in is trying to continue with my life as if things are normal, and just hoping that things are going to change themselves. And that guilt of, if I'm not using my voice to speak, then I'm betraying the movement, because then I'm not walking my talk. So it's really a hard balance of not trying to be able to advocate for some of the things the young people want, good governance, no corruption, better leaders, all that, and trying to also continue with your life. It's a gray line, because what life are we continuing with? And we're in a system that has not been working for us for a long time. So it's really hard not to be in that savior complex mentality. And I think being stuck in that gray line is what is bringing a lot of the hopelessness, wanting to isolate. I've just done the test and I've seen I'm at a 65, which is, I'm shocked that these things have taken a toll on me. So that gray line of trying to balance, but then continuing with your life as if things are normal, yet they are not. I think for me, that has been the biggest issue, because things are not normal.
Good.
So trying to draw that balance has been hard.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Diana, for that response. That's very, very helpful. There is this idea in the Christian tradition, and I'm gonna maybe share with you. It's this idea that virtue lies in the middle. Virtue lies in the middle. How do I know? So what does that mean? It means that even if you are generous, let's talk about generosity. Generosity is only a virtue if you're not too stingy, you give nothing. But generosity stops becoming a virtue when you give so much that you have nothing for yourself. It's no longer a virtue. So the Christian tradition has always thought that, it's of course borrowing from Aristotle, Greek philosopher, that virtue lies in the middle. How do I know that what I'm doing is virtuous? That it is balanced. That it is balanced. Okay. And I think even the whole idea of love your neighbor as you love yourself is very important. I think Christ does not even say just love your neighbor. No, love your neighbor as you love yourself. That means there's a sort of a balance. There's a sort of a reciprocity. So, and I know, and I can see the comments coming in that some of you, you are injecting. Joy says you're injecting. Yes, there's a tendency among us to have the savior complex. I have seen it a lot in a good number of my clients, and especially those of us who are in the helping, let me call it industry, the helping industry, okay? So yes, vicarious trauma. Dorosila is saying you've experienced especially vicarious trauma. Yes, yes. That is something also some people in my field experience quite a bit. Counseling psychologists, constantly listening to clients. Sometimes also even for me, I have experienced it because of the number of people that I listen to and the stories that they bring to therapy. Bahati Hesbon says, I used to have the savior complex until when I realized Jesus died for us. Ilikuwa inaniwei sana. Yes, it's important to realize, especially for those of us who are Christians, that yes, there's only one savior and it's not you. Okay, there's only one savior and it's not you. Okay, that does not mean that we don't fight injustice. No, again, it's not black and white. It's either I'm fighting injustice or not, like those extremes. No, 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 no. We need to realize that rest is productive. To rest is to be productive. To rest is to be productive. So to withdraw, like Christ would, Christ came to save, but he would withdraw to a lonely place to pray and to be with the Father, you know? So that is important, you know? That's very, very important to learn, okay, there will always be injustice. Even Jesus, even Jesus said, the poor will always be with you. No? So there will always be a certain level of injustice, and we cannot think that we'll solve that immediately. I have to balance my energy. So Gino Pondo says, savior complex is me. Me is savior complex. Mungu's idea. No, you can manage to find a balance, and we'll see how we can do that. Thank you for this. Now I understand. I keep telling my sister, Olivia Mutere says, she's not Jesus. She also keep having stomach issues and headaches. Yeah, you see? Yeah? Rose, naona kuna watu wajui mbona Jesus is my Lord and Savior. Firdaus Hussein says, yes, my experience in the human rights work can be quite overwhelming, and sometimes we overlook the impact it has in our lives of trying to balance work and personal lives, caught up in between, which can be emotionally draining. Emotionally draining. I think if we find time, I'll give you an assessment that helps you to understand whether you have balance in your life. I could give you that just to make sure you having a sense of balance. We'll see if we have time. Okay. Becky, please share the recording. I have to log off. Okay, I think the organizers are doing so. I'm at empathy and emotional overload. There you go. Thank you for sharing, Victoria Mugure. Empathy and emotional overload. Yeah. So there's sometimes you can overdo it. You can overdo it. And sometimes knowing that you cannot save everyone and not being guilty, okay, can be helpful, especially those of us who grew up with parents who made us to care for our siblings, who, especially the firstborn, those who are made to care for others. From the time you are young, you might have a very strong sense of savior complex, okay? Or maybe your parents were sick when you were young and you had to take care of them, or they shared with you too deeply about their problems and you felt that you need to help your parents. You can have a very strong savior complex because it got ingrained in you when you were young, unfortunately. Olivia Mutere, it's very draining. Yeah, Marian the activist. I'm also a patient of savior complex. There you go. Becky, Salim. Becky, we shall put this on recordings. Okay, thank you, Salima, for that. Victoria Mugure, love your neighbors yourself means the same degree. Yeah? So it's important. It's important to understand that. So keep this chat section alive. So we continue. So I wanted us to discuss a little bit about our story, about what is it that you have experienced during this process. And if you can, maybe just 2 or 3 people, those who have not spoken, if your system is good, just for the rest of us, since we're talking about this post-protest trauma, could those of us who, if you had really quite the experience and you'd want to share with us, please do so. If you can type it out, even the process of typing what you experienced is very therapeutic. So that's be good. But if you want to raise your hand, just 2, 3 people, I'll not give more than 3 people. If you feel courageous enough to share, to do so, what is that, and these symptoms that we have assessed and seen that you might have them, you can raise your hand, okay? So I will continue with the presentation. But if you want to share your story of what you saw during the protests that is giving you nightmares, that is, has made you have these symptoms of trauma, or if not even, it may not even be the recent protest, could be something that happened 2, 3 years ago, that I experienced this during a demonstration, a protest. Please raise your hand or type it. The process of typing is also therapeutic, okay? So once I see a hand, even as I continue, I will pause and then we shall listen to you as we go by. So how does our body respond to trauma? Just a quick one. There is something we call in psychology the polyvagal theory. I'm not going to go into the technical part of it, but our body responds in three ways, or three systems in our bodies are used, okay? The sympathetic nervous system. Now, the word sympathy here in psychology has nothing to do with the word sympathy itself. It simply means sympathos. That means together with emotion, together with emotion. Right? That's what the word sympathos means, sympathetic. And this is where we get the idea of fight versus flight, you know? So this sympathetic nervous system is about threat. Yeah, it's about threat. It responds to threats, okay, by either running away or being ready to fight, okay? So it's the first line of defense, mobilization. Yeah, let's fight or let's go away. So you're walking in some dark place and you hear some noise, or you're walking on the road and you see somebody on a motorbike, and someone who had assaulted you was on a motorbike, and you get ready either to fight. You can hear your heart rate rising, shallow breath, muscle tension, ready for fight. Yeah, it usually happens along the spinal cord, yeah, and you're ready. Okay, it's mobilizing the body's resources to deal with the stressor, either by running away or by fighting. For that, the sympathetic nervous system. Now, there is another part we call the dorsal vagus, okay, system, and this is where people freeze. Now, why people freeze? I don't know what to do. People are unable to speak about what happened to them. I can't even share. I can't even speak what happened to me. Someone provokes that, and this person just simply shuts down. They freeze. They become immobile. This is the second line of defense. Again, it's around your diaphragm, your gut, and your viscera around your body. And it's the last resort if fight and flight is not possible. When life needs to be preserved, freezing occurs. So it's a tough one, yeah. Especially, it really means I can't run away, okay. And this can lead to daydreaming and fantasizing a lot and easily getting distracted. So usually this happens a lot when you meet children who grew up in a family that was very abusive, but they could not run away. They could not fight their parents, and they could not run away from home. And they always look absent. They look absent. And sometimes they are punished in school because they can't concentrate. Their mind goes away. When their mind finds anything difficult, it just goes away. They go to the inner world, world of fantasy. They dream. It's difficult for them to pay attention, and they can be punished for it because of that kind of stuff. Okay. And then we call the ventrovagal system. This is social engagement. Okay. This is where we feel the need to tell someone what happened to me. This year I want to share. I want to communicate and tell you what happened to me around our face, our throat, our chest, and we share. We feel much better. So it helps us to rest, but also to digest the food, so that we don't have problems with our stomach. So sometimes people who have these gastrointestinal problems have issues they have not allowed themselves to share. So engaging with ourselves and with others. And oftentimes this can also be affected where we now withdraw and we also don't speak to people. We can't trust them maybe because of things that happened to us in the past. Okay, so I don't know which one could be affecting you, but just to give you a sense of a context of what is happening. Okay, let me come back to the chat section. Marion, the activist, says, my trauma is visiting the city mortuary to stand in solidarity with, Darlene, I can see your hand. I'm going to call you out in a bit. Is visiting the city mortuary to stand in solidarity with families of young men who were shot during the protest. So I can imagine here, Marion, your biggest struggle was seeing the dead bodies, the cadavers, the corpses, and that memory could be staying with you. That's a difficult experience. Victoria Mugure, I saw a guy shot on the leg, crying, asking why he was shot while being arrested. That image hasn't left me ever since.
Hello, Dominic. Okay. It seems that The facilitator is, yes, there's some technical issues, but he's trying to fix. Then he'll be back with us. But he had requested maybe some 2 or 3 people to share about their experiences. And there was one hand that was raised. Please just raise it again so that I can give you the opportunity to share. Who was that again? Sorry. Someone was willing to share. Please just raise your hand so that I'm able to give you the opportunity to. Oh, Darlene. Okay. Let me see if I can unmute you. All right. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I hope I'm audible. Yeah, maybe.
We can hear you. Please proceed.
Perfect. I think I'll just share because I was working with Medics for Kenya. My name is Darlene. I'm a doctor, specifically orthopedic. And when we were working with the team, and especially on that one Tuesday, the 25th, I think, okay, usually I'm used to seeing blood and organs and stuff like that. But this time around, let me say, because it came from a place where I kept telling myself, these people don't deserve this. And on that fateful Tuesday, when I was stationed at Jamia Mosque, I think I've never seen so much blood, and let me just say unwanted blood, because then when you look at these people, they're not armed, they've come with the live bullets. I remember having to like refer patients who had like bullets that have been launched in their upper arm or on their thigh. And there's some who came with like, extremes, and I'm talking about bloody situations, and it was such a bloody situation, so much so that I got home and I remember I had to just go on Instagram and tell guys, imagine we need to pull back, because due to lack of words, let me say it was a bloodbath. And then I think what made things worse for me, it's because when I looked at the news and what was reported, and I was like, this, if you're on the ground and if you saw how many casualties that were being referred and how many people we actually lost, and even some who came and we had to just literally confirm death because there was nothing we could do. I think it really made me not really hate, but I really had like a certain experience. And every time I see the GSU, I always feel like, why would you do that? Why did you do that? Why did that person have to go through that pain? Why did this person have to die? We've lost people. A young boy, I think maximum, I'd say 24, who died, and his body was just lifelessly brought to us. I think that made me feel so bad, to the extent that I feel like right now, if I see a cop, I just have to take a left automatically. If I just see an anti-riot police, automatically I just take a left. And it was really bad. It was too bloody. It was a bloodbath. Yeah, it was. Still trying to get over it slowly. I remember some people sent me some care packages, but this was different. It definitely was different. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Salima, could you respond to that, because I didn't hear the whole story? You can.
Yes. So Darlene is a doctor who was one of the frontliners, just helping to save life. And on this one occasion, she just witnessed a lot of blood. And according to her story, this was really unwanted blood, because it was just at the hands of the police. So
Right.
since then, she's also felt some resentment against police officers.
Police. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so that's where we are at. And thank you so much, Evangeline, for sharing that with us. So back
Thank
to
you.
you, Dominic.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for standing in, Salima. I have a blackout, and so I had to buy data to hotspot. So I still hope you can hear me. And Darlene, thank you for sharing that. And even the parts that I got, I can imagine how difficult and intense that experience is. And you're even explaining the avoidance symptoms that we spoke about, that avoidance of people who remind you, and in this case, the police. And I don't even know what it would be like to see so much blood again in the future. I can imagine it can be pretty difficult for you to see that. And no wonder the importance of help. And I would be interesting to know in the chat section, if you can, Darlene, just tell me what the care package was. Yeah. So thank you, Victorine, for responding. I lost all the chats. So Salima, could you just take us through the chats, please?
When you dropped off, there's some people, I think you left it at where Mure said that she saw a guy being shot on the leg, crying and asking why he was shot while being arrested. And then a question came from Japheth Ogola: how can we practically deal with the savior complex? We live in a society, just one second, we live in a society where every single day we have families and friends who are in need in one way or another, and we get constrained to assist even if we are also dealing with our own struggles in life. So I think in a nutshell, Japhet just wants to understand, how then do we deal with this severe complex issue. Basically, that is, yeah, and then just the others are just for info purposes, people wanting to live in that. Yeah.
Okay, I thought there were some few comments that came in before I left that were quite extensive that I did not read. But if in case you had posted your comment and now it's because I can't see them, just please repost. Huh? I think there's some of you who might have shared their experiences in writing. So please do so. I will be mentioning about the savior complex as we go by. Yeah? And thank you for those of you who have sending consolation to Darlene. Huh? Yeah, so that's very good. Yeah. So Darlene, keep up with a good spirit, and if in case we can help you in any way, please do reach out to us for therapy and any kind of support that we could give. Okay, so in case you want to again share your story as we go by, please do let me know. Now, one of the things that happens with savior complex, with the work that we do, is we get burnt out. You get burnout. Burnout is this state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged and excessive stress, which is basically giving yourself way too much. People who struggle with severe complex often also struggle with shame and guilt when they stop. And that's the virus you need to be aware of. That guilt when you want time for yourself. That guilt when you say, no, enough. It's okay. If the immediate sense is guilt and shame, then there's a problem. And the reason I say there's a problem is what? Because savior complex somehow goes against this idea of, again, I'm just citing the scriptures for the purpose of making a point. I know maybe some of us are not Christian or maybe religious at all. But this whole idea of, even if you give your body to be burnt, but there's no love, it is for nothing. Ever read of that in the hymn to love in Corinthians? That's the problem in the savior complex. Even if you give your body to be burnt, but there's no love, it is for nothing. It has to come from a place of love, not from a place of guilt and shame. And that's where you need to be careful of. What is my motivation? Okay, what is my motivation? Okay, so what is my driving? Am I able to stop and take care of myself without feeling guilty? Okay, now, characterized by feelings of overwhelm, emotional depletion, and reduced sense of accomplishment. Okay, what do I feel? I feel overwhelmed. I can't handle this anymore. I feel I don't have any emotional energy. And even above all, I feel like I've not done anything at all. Okay, even I am questioning my sense of accomplishment. I'm not making any difference. I'm not making any difference. So reduced sense of accomplishment, burnout happens. Okay. Okay, Salima, what's up? I mean, I know, I think you might.
Yeah, Marion had raised her hand up. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes, Marion, please go ahead.
Am I audible enough? Can you hear me?
Very well.
Okay, I was explaining the trauma that I went through at City Mortuary, and it is something that had piled up.
Yeah.
The first trauma that I had, it was during the femicide.
Mm-hmm.
You remember there was a girl called Waeni.
Waeni, yes. Yes. She was the face of femicide in Kenya, here in Zimmerman or somewhere. Yeah.
Yes, I watched as her head was being unveiled.
Oh, wow.
So that was the first trauma that I experienced. And then now the second one came after now the young men were shot during the protests. And the third one came when the Mukuru tragedy came up and we were still assisting the families. And my main concern is how the city mortuary facility, how these guys carelessly threw the bodies all over. I mean, if I'm going to view the body of Njeri, I should only see Njeri. But now when you're going to see Njeri and there is Victor there is somebody else, an accident, the bodies are all over. And that is where the trauma comes. The trauma as mortuary, which I've had so many people talking about, comes when you see even the other bodies. I wish they could put it in a way that you can only see the people you went to view. It's so traumatizing, seeing people who do not have heads, people who have blood all over. To me, I don't know when I'm going to recover.
I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry for that experience. That's really a harrowing experience to have. Yeah, Marion. Yeah. Thank you for sharing with us. Have you received any kind of assistance, mental health assistance since then?
Our comrade Irongo Houghton facilitated for one counseling session through Amnesty. We should be going through others soon. I don't know when.
Right.
But this is also another.
Please.
Yes, I went through one counseling session, which really helped a bit. But I think I should be going for more and more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Marion. And just even for all of us, even as I respond to Marion, I'm in the profession of listening to people, and one of the things that I make sure to do is every month or every 2 months I go and see a therapist. So it's just not just one-off.
Yeah.
Mganga hajigangi. Yeah? So especially those of us who are in this business of seeing so much pain, the more the necessity of ensuring that just have some cash somewhere, some savings somewhere, a way to ensure that you can go for therapy. Please, Mariana.
Yes.
And by the time I'm done with this session, I will make, sorry.
I stand guided.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
guided.
that's okay. Thank you. And thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. A lot. That takes a lot of courage, and thank you. And I'm very sorry that you had to experience such a harrowing experience. And the idea that I want is for you to offload the negative experience, the negative emotion, but then use the experience to fight for better justice and care, even in the mortuary system. So thank you for that.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. There is another hand I can see by Diana Michael. And please, the gentlemen who are here, please also, I want to also hear a gentleman or two saying something. Marion, thank you so much. Diana, please go ahead.
Thank you. I think mine is more related with vicarious trauma. For those of us who've been very vocal on social media platforms, when the what is it called? When the abductions started happening, for me, it's been very difficult to sleep, especially when you realize they're not only abducting the big faces. They're abducting even the small voices that are using to amplify about the corruption that's happening in the country. So by that virtue that someone similar to you can be taken, it's really been difficult for me to sleep. And to make it worse, where we stay, our house is just next to the road. So I normally find myself waking up at 4 a.m. It's been happening for the past 1 month now. When it gets to 3, it's like my body just shuts down. I find myself awake and, I'm just waiting, listening to hear if there are footsteps, if, someone is touching the gate or anything is happening that's unusual. And it's funny because nothing has happened unusually in our estate, but the fact that you get to hear stories of people being taken from their homes, and some of them we don't even know where they are up to now, it brings in a certain level of helplessness that you can't protect yourself. You're not even safe in your own home. So I think for me, these protests have been affecting me in that way, just vicarious trauma, seeing that it's happening to someone just like you, and there's a possibility it can happen to you as well because you're using your voice, you're amplifying, you're using your voice to speak truth to power. It's just been a scary experience. So yeah, for me, I'm just talking more on the aspect of vicarious trauma, and I'm sure for a lot of us, we have also been affected in that way.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were missing that for a minute, but I think it's a problem in my net. Thank you, Diana, for sharing that experience also. That is very high level of anxiety and hypervigilance, as I mentioned to you. That constant awareness of the gate, your body wanting to wake up as early as possible to be to remain vigilant if there is any harm coming towards you. And I'm hoping by the end of this session that you'll have some tools that you can use that I'm going to mention, and especially the few that I will emphasize on. But yes, that is vicarious trauma you're experiencing, and you're having some forms of anxiety consequently. Yeah, and I'm hopeful, again, as I mentioned to you, that the tools I will share will be of help to you. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing that. Please keep these comments coming. Yeah, and encouraging when someone shares and you are able to also keep those comments coming. Great. So thank you so much, Diana, for sharing that. And once again, we are sending so much closeness and comfort to you, and also the tools I will share. I hope they'll be useful to you. Okay. So I can see comments from several of you to the preceding stories. And Joanne is saying, if you need any psychological support, kindly reach to us through our official contacts. Yeah. There's also a wellness hub is available. Please reach out for support. Victorine, Grace, Alessandra, yeah. So lots of positive comments. I'll come back to the polyvagal theory, after this. So a form of burnout, an example of burnout is a community organizer who has been leading protests for several months, begins to feel constantly tired and unmotivated. They start missing meetings, feel disconnected from their cause. I just don't longer believe in the cause anymore, and doubt even the ability to make a difference. Physically, they experience frequent headaches and stomach issues. Okay, that is an example. That is an example of burnout, experience of burnout. Okay, and so you want to ask again. This is a very small introduction because we don't have a lot of time to go into the details. So even if you ever experience a session on burnout, please go. Okay, another thing that can happen, other symptoms of burnout, therefore, is this sense of feeling drained, overwhelmed, unable to cope emotionally. That emotional exhaustion, just overwhelmed and unable to cope. Depersonalization, again, that sense of cynical or detached attitude towards work, people being served, my heart is not in it. Like when you hear people say, my heart is not in it, literally, my heart is not in it. I've become cynical and detached towards people I'm serving. And a reduced sense of personal accomplishment, feeling ineffective, a lack of achievement or productivity. It's like you no longer experience or see like whatever you're doing, like as if it makes any difference at all. People might be telling you, wow, you do so much. Look at what you are doing. Look at what you have accomplished. I wish I had your spirit. I wish I had your energy. But from your perspective, you're like, I'm doing nothing. You know, I'm doing nothing. I can't even see what I'm doing. What are you talking about? You know? So physical symptoms, chronic fatigue, headaches, again, gastrointestinal issues, stomach issues, and changes in sleep patterns. That's, you know, you're not sleeping sufficiently. Sleeping sufficiently. Okay, again, these are signs and symptoms of burnout. But there's something else that might also happen to us who are in this process. That's what's called compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue especially, again, affects those of us who are in the helping industry. In the helping industry. Secondary traumatic stress, not trauma now, stress. It refers to the emotional and physical exhaustion that can affect individuals who care for those who are suffering, often resulting from prolonged exposures to others' trauma. There is what you call also compassion fatigue. Like you are just, your cup is empty. When you hear people saying, my cup is empty, I can no longer be there for my parents. I can no longer be there for my siblings. I can no longer be there for people who are suffering. I'm running on empty. And that's why I keep saying the idea of being able to stop in order to refill is actually good for you and the people you're caring for. I really encourage even couples sometimes, just leave your children. No, today is just me and your mom. Today is just me and your dad. I'm going out, we're going somewhere. We need a time off. You know, being able to stop and say, I'm going to go and have a nice meal without the guilt of lakini pesa ingesaidia mtu mwingine. But this, I have done that. This time is for me. I can go to a nice restaurant and have a good time, and I don't have to be thinking about people who are suffering. Can be that without guilt. That's a good balance. That I can choose myself like I choose others. I can choose myself with the same radicalness that I choose others. Okay? And take care of me. And I can do that without feeling guilt and shame and what is wrong with me. You know, am I selfish now? Remember, a good sacrifice comes from a place of love and does not resort to guilt and shame. Okay? It's important. Okay? What is an example of compassion fatigue? Think of a lawyer who is giving free or pro bono services to protesters, but then notices this lawyer is becoming increasingly anxious, emotionally numb. He or she finds it hard to concentrate on his cases anymore. Often has intrusive thoughts about the client's traumas. Hizo vitu zinamsumbua. And even starts avoiding interaction with clients or colleagues. They also experience disrupted sleep and frequent colds, flu. Sometimes I know I'm having compassion fatigue when I get someone asking, hey, can I book a session with you? And immediately I'm like, I don't want to have a session. I know I'm having compassion fatigue. It could be burnout, but also it could be compassion fatigue. But I'm trying to be compassionate to people. Now, for me to be truly compassionate, I need to tell that person, maybe no or not now. And I don't have to feel guilty about that. No or not now. And that's why I don't see clients on Sundays, you know, and oftentimes from Saturday afternoon, that's my time. I know, is there someone out there having depression? Yes. Is there someone else out there having a mental health problem? Yes. But I cannot save them. And saying that does not make me selfish. I got to rest. I've got to rest because rest is going to help me to be more available to people on Monday. You know, and at a certain hour, I don't pick calls. A certain hour, I don't pick calls. I don't respond to WhatsApp. That is my time in the evening. I cannot be there for everybody. And creating system, especially in an organization like this one, where someone stands in for each other, if we need to have, like, let's say, night calls, then there's a number and someone knows at this point, I'm the one who is awake, so that others can fill their cups, they can rest. You know? So if you're able to organize yourself and you can work in shifts, that can also help people to recool their energy, to rest, so that you're not the only one constantly on call. And if you can, as an individual, you reduce, you know. I usually tell God, mimi kama nimeenda kulala, whatever will happen, please take care of it. Oh, but someone in your family might be having a sickness problem. It has never happened in a very long time, thank God. And if it did, I am living very far from any of my family members, and I cannot, I cannot guilt myself that I'm going to put my phone in vibration or to sing a night song because I'm scared. That is a high level of anxiety. And for something that a call that might happen maybe once or twice in a year, So I think that capacity to make these choices that I'm making, for some of us listening to me be like, oh my goodness, no, I can't do that. That is, oof, Then the other side of it is you might actually one day be unable to help people because you can't actually do it. Not because you don't want to, but because you have not allowed yourself to have the strength to do it, to rest, to recover. So how do I know I'm having compassion fatigue? Again, emotionally, anger, irritability, hopelessness, anxiety, sadness. As you can see, it affects social workers a lot. Okay. Sorry. And it is important to recognize these signs as soon as possible. Physically, headaches, abdominal pain, hypertension. Cognitively, difficulty concentrating, self-blame. What is wrong with me? Why am I not loving people? Why am I not there for people? Why am I unbothered now? I used to be bothered about this. I used to love, I used to love helping people. I used to love defending people. Now I don't feel like it. Now I feel like they are bothering me. And now I'm feeling guilty because I'm feeling bothered. Now I'm feeling shame. Now it's low self-esteem. What is wrong with me? Behavioral, substance abuse, chronic lateness, lack of joy. There's no cheerfulness. There's no happiness in the cause anymore. And this is the cost of savior complex in the long run. In the long run, you're not even present to the people you're telling me, Dominic, I can't stop working for these people. In the long run, you're not even present to them in the best way that you. Have you ever experienced compassion fatigue? Tell me in the chat section. Have you ever experienced compassion fatigue? You can even just type in yes. Have you ever experienced compassion fatigue? Or are you experiencing compassion fatigue? Even parents can experience compassion fatigue. And that is why taking a break, you got to take a break. If Christ himself was in this world to save everybody and had the time to rest, I remember for us Catholics, the reading of last Sunday was exactly that. Jesus telling the disciples, come away with me to a deserted place and rest. Come away with me. Are there people who needed saving? People who are sick, who needed healing? People who are demons who needed to be exorcised? Yes. But even in those moments, he is telling them, come away with me to a deserted place and rest. You cannot save everybody. You just can't. So compassion fatigue is real. Compassion fatigue is real. And to be able to say, no, enough, even to your own children, no. Mommy needs rest now. You go and play out there. And for the next 1 hour, please do not disturb me. For the next 2 hours, please do not disturb. To be able to separate yourself from your commitment, from your engagement, will give you the energy to actually do better. Otherwise, you now become a workaholic. And the problem is when your identity is tied so much to what you do, that becomes a problem. Your identity is tied to what you do. That means if someone takes away what you do, you don't even know who you are. That's one of the reasons why when people retire, they have mental illnesses. Why? Because they tied their identity so much to what they do. Now, when they get sick or they are old, now they get depressed. They have issues. Your parents are fighting more now than they were young, now that they are retired. Why? Because the identity was, I'm a parent. My children are all now grown. They no longer need me. So who am I? So depression and mental illness start. So you need to separate what you do from who you are. You are not a human doing. You're a human being, to be, not to do. So the first thing is to recognize my identity as a human being, not as a human doing. So many of us have attached our identity on our productivity, such that when our productivity goes down, our identity goes down. That's a very dangerous place to live in. So learn to separate yourself, your identity from your ego, okay? Your self-worth from your net worth. If you do not separate yourself for self-worth from your net worth, then your net worth goes down. It is going to drain your self, self. Huh? Very good. If you have any question, please let me know. Now, bad coping mechanisms. As we now go towards the conclusion, we start now having bad coping mechanisms. Substances, drugs, watching pornography, masturbating, say multiple sexual partners. Start having all this to cope. You know yourself what your negative coping mechanisms are. But these are major, especially for Kenya, which is a huge consumer of pornography, which has its own effects. Discussion for another day. But weed, alcohol, sex, multiple sexual activities, pornography, masturbation, for many of us have become naturalized or normalized coping mechanisms. Other healthy coping mechanism is isolation. Then shopping, over dependence on people. And that can be, people can also have emotional compassion fatigue because you keep complaining, oh, my job is terrible. And people are like, I don't want to hear it anymore. Your partner does not want to hear that every day. Your husband, your wife does not want to hear that every day. And then you say, oh, you're not sensitive to me. Maybe they're trying to be sensitive, but I cannot listen to that every single day without feeling drained by your stories, without having vicarious trauma, So you become overly dependent or you become overly independent. Catastrophizing. Have you ever sat with someone and they are always telling you about how things will go from bad to worse? You make quick conclusions about people's motivation. Yeah, that police is, so it's not only this police who is bad, who did this, but all police now are bad. And when I see that this an evil thing will happen, so you make quick conclusions about people, you judge things quickly, and you are convinced, no, I'm actually good at reading people because of what I have experienced. No. What you've been good at is seeing catastrophes everywhere. Okay, and that can be really terrifying. Doom scrolling. What is doom scrolling? You are there on TikTok or on IG for hours on end. You're scrolling. You're not watching anything in particular, but 3 hours you're there. After working so hard at helping people, you come home and you want to convince yourself it's time for me now. So you're there scrolling, and maybe you are scrolling to see even more things that will make you feel worse. You're not even giving yourself a break from all those injustices that are happening in the world. You're continuing with them. You're doom scrolling. And the problem is, the more there are certain chemicals in your brain, neurochemicals, neurotransmitters that you need to keep up to maintain positivity, that get drained by that constant scrolling and watching clips, even if they're funny clips, constantly scrolling. They get drained. Avoidance. So procrastination is avoidance technique. You're always being busy. And you need even to ask yourself, why am I in this business of as a human rights defender? Who am I saving? Am I trying to save others that I don't look within? At my own abuse when I was growing up, at my own failures, at my own sense of self-esteem. And maybe by saving other people, I might actually think that I'm useful. Okay. So am I using the busyness of human rights defense to avoid facing myself? Is that what I'm doing? Toxic positivity. Have you ever met people who are toxically positive? They have toxic positivity. Everything they try to put a twist to avoid facing the pain. To avoid facing the pain, to avoid facing the anger and resentment. They have this toxic positivity. Tell me in the chat section if you ever met someone with toxic positivity. Sometimes they are annoying, Oversleeping. Again, you want to constantly oversleep to avoid facing reality. Denial.
Actually, Dominic, there's a question on the chat. There's a question on the chat box.
Okay.
Mogore is asking, how do we have the balance when you find value in when you find value in doing and not being?
Very good. Yeah, good question. Good question. I'm going to respond to that shortly, as I also even respond to the savior complex. And living in the past, some of the unhealthy mechanisms. Again, remember, so being busy, as I'm mentioning to you, is an avoidance technique. So even that question that is coming in by Victoria, how do you find the balance when you find value in doing and not being? So the question is, what is it in your being that you are avoiding facing that you have to do in order to experience it? That's the question that you want to face. And it's difficult to face that alone. So my advice would be to actually face that question maybe with a therapist so that you can ask yourself that question. But also one of the ways that you can do is, especially if you have access to the book like The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it can really help you to figure this out. And one thing that you want to do is to figure out all the roles you have in life. Like, what are the roles that I have in life? So let's say Victoria, you say, okay, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I am a friend, I am part of my church community, I have me for myself, I am, okay, maybe you say I'm a mother, all that. So you look at all the roles that you have and you ask yourself, which role is suffering? When is the last time I spent time with my parents? When is the last time I spent time with my siblings? When is the time that I spent time with my friends? When is the time that I spent time with God? When is the last time that I spent time with me? And which is being sacrificed? So one of the ways to find balance in your life is to first of all clarify your roles and try to see which of these roles is suffering. Because sometimes we can ask our partners, especially those of us who work in these very unpredictable spaces. Sometimes we can ask our partners for too much, like to understand way too much. But I am doing very important work. Yes, but you're not spending time with me. That's the thing. At the end of the day, however good you're doing, at the end of the day, the reality is we don't spend time together anymore. Children don't see you anymore. But I'm doing such good work. Yes. First of all, save your children before you try to save the world. Okay, so if you are sacrificing, take for example, motherhood, fatherhood, if you're sacrificing your spouse to save the world, you better be really careful as you're making that choice, because you cannot ask maybe your partner to do that. That's not what maybe they signed up for. Okay, so I would suggest to Victoria, start with those roles and then make the decision. Yeah, so it's possible that you're being like the many saints in the past. You want to give yourself out like that, and that's okay. Maybe that's your calling, but it has to come from a place that leaves you with a sense of freedom and where you have examined the opposite of it. Is there something within me that is so dark, that is so painful, that's so sad, that I don't want? And how can I do that? Maybe I give myself a week or two to not do anything, to not engage with this and just spend time with me and see what terrifies so much within me, and then face it, so that I'm not using as an escape. I'm not using it as an escape. I'm not using other people as a means to my happiness. Remember, as we mentioned to you, even if you give your body to be burnt and there is no love, it is nothing. Can you imagine doing all this human rights defense? That is like giving your body to be burnt, but there's no love underneath that. All that is underneath that is low self-worth and low self-esteem. That's why you are in the habit of saving people so that you can feel good about yourself. That's not love. That is using people. Okay, so excessive worry could be another consequence. So we usually therefore say, in dealing with trauma meets a certain personality with gender. So oftentimes women are affected by trauma more than men. Okay. And that's why even mental illnesses also affect women more than men, in terms of especially gender, depression and anxiety, schema, life goals. All those are meeting a person with all these. A schema is a collection of beliefs, and also age. So the older you are, also the less the impact of trauma. Now, then something happens, the traumatic event. Okay, so immediately after is the rumination starts. Again, women ruminate more than men. Something that happened to them. And this rumination is automatic. It's not something that you do. It happens by itself. It intrudes into your thought systems. It's unwelcome and it's encompassing. Like it's everywhere in your sleep, when you're in church, when you're conversing with someone, it is encompassing in all your life. So trauma, these are symptoms now of traumas, constant rumination. So how do you
Maybe
go through?
Dominic.
Yeah.
Dominic, sorry. Maybe rumination. Maybe just for some of us that maybe struggle with that term. If you could just break
Rumination.
it down. Yeah, yeah.
Rumination comes from, you know, you ever seen cows or goats, you know, most herbivores, after they swallow, after they eat first, of course, they store it in the first stomach, and then that comes back. Then when they are resting, then it will come back, then they will chew it better, and then it goes the second stomach and all that. That's what you call rumination. And what is rumination? Rumination is going over and over and over again, something that happened to you. So, you know, I keep speaking about it, talking about it, thinking about it. It's always there in my mind. As soon as I pause, and it is this rumination that people try to escape from, maybe using drugs or sex or pornography, whatever it is. That rumination, that constant bother, it is always in my mind, you know. So I'm constantly ruminating. I hope now you get it. It is that constantly going over and over again to an event or an experience that I had. Okay, and so what is the 3 ways to deal with this? Number 1 is social support. It's difficult to go through this alone. I cannot emphasize this enough. It's difficult to go through this alone. So social support, whether that is professional support of a therapist or friends, the way we are responding to each other, like, you know, someone is going through something and we express something, social support, leaning on people, asking for help. Again, human rights defenders. Most of us, I'm sure here, we are very good at providing help. The problem we have is asking for help. And even if sometimes it is offered, we have trouble accepting. Hey, do you want to talk about it? Oh, no, I'm okay. Are you? Really? What is this temptation to self-sufficiency? It's a terrible temptation. It's a form of pride, you know? So in all due respect, get over yourself. If you are offered help, accept it. Yes, I am actually going through a tough time. Let's talk about that for a minute. Okay? So I am always there for people, but I don't need people. Is a terrible idea, and it's marks of hubris, maringo, kiburi. Huh? I mean, you may not feel it because Dominic, I don't want to be a burden to people. You know, I don't want to be a bother. Who told you God does not create bother? God never creates burdens. He creates blessings. So what made you a bother? What made you a burden? What makes you think you're a burden? That other people can come to you for help, but you can't ask for help. Okay? So it's important to realize, to move away from being a burden to being a blessing. You know? Understanding that, seeing yourself like that. Okay? So I know people can come to me, but also I can go to them. So it's important. I can't emphasize this enough, especially to the particular people that I'm speaking to, who I know are very good at providing help. But asking, accepting it, I know that's where the problem is. Kweli ama uongo? Hebu niambieni kama sijaongea ukweli kidogo. Leo nachokoza. Today I'm injecting. Someone told me the word injecting. How many of us here have trouble asking and accepting help, but are always there for people? You know, please, yeah. Tell me if you're not one of those, okay? And as I wait for you to respond, self-disclosure. Self-disclosure. So number 1 is social support. Number 2 is self-disclosure. Speaking about it, sharing about it. Now, you can share in 2 ways or in 3 ways. Number 1, with a friend or with a group of friends. And I'm hoping this group can provide this place as a place of refuge, self-disclosure. I share my pain. I share my experience. So I can share that with a friend or in a group. Number 2, I suggest this powerfully, especially those of you who maybe cannot afford therapy, or you don't have, you know, for some reason you can't go to see a therapist constantly, is write your experience down. And those of you who have mentioned about maybe like the mortuary, or, you know, there's some memory stuck with you, I suggest to you, once a week, write that memory in detail. What you thought, what you felt, okay? And what you wish could happen differently. Like, I went to the mortuary, I saw the way the bodies are being packed. I felt like this, I thought like this, and I wish the mortuary could act, could act differently. but I understand that's beyond my control. This is what I can do about it. So you write in detail of what you can remember, a lot of details, as much details as you can. And then you wait, and then you can either burn that paper if you want to, doesn't matter. The most important thing is you write. And then you wait for 1 week and you sit down again and write. Write again. Okay, so write 3 to 4 times those terrible experiences. Of course, the best thing would be to see a therapist, but even that writing is very, very powerful. Especially those of us who are in the habit of experiencing a lot of pain, writing has to be second to our personality. Writing our experiences down has to be second to our personality. It is very, very important for our brain. And this is where also now self-analysis comes in. So what is happening within me? What is happening within me? What is that I can watch in me? Okay, I can see I'm having headaches. I go to the hospital, nothing. I'm having back pains. I go to the hospital, nothing. My periods are becoming more and more painful, irregular, and don't know what it is. I have ulcers. I have skin rashes, you know. So I need to pay attention to all this. What is happening within me? What is happening within me? What are the belief systems that are making me feel worse? Okay. If I have belief system that people are the devil, then I'm gonna feel worse. Can I analyze my belief system and I say, okay, is my constantly facing evil in the world making me have belief systems that are making me feel worse about the world? Okay. So sometimes I read the stories of atheists who have come back to belief. And usually it happens when they're faced by pain and they realize I need a belief system that helps me to face that pain. And that belief system ends up being religious, you know? So, so when you do that, what happens is you go towards post-trauma. Now, instead of these thoughts being automatic, now you are the one choosing them. They're deliberate. They're chosen by you. You know, you start finding meaning in your suffering and accepting of what happens. And then there's a sense of wisdom and well-being and strength to face even future painful experiences. Yeah. So, so now I can see, yeah, so a lot of feedback on rumination. I think rumination is chewing cud. Yes, chewing cud. Now we use it in psychology to mean that tendency to go back, to keep repeating our thought processes, our painful experiences. We keep, you know, and it's not we are not rethinking them so that we can find a way out or find a solution. It's just mark timing around them, you know. So it's like a vicious cycle, you know. Maurice Odhiambo, Marion, stop chewing cud, please. Yeah, Victorine, Joyas, Terry, I'm sure those of you I'm talking about this asking for help. That's difficult. Yes, yeah. I think that's what you mean by yes. Zamzam, what do you think of a situation where you are willing to seek support? You have identified places you can, but you suppress your emotions and feelings and decide to just deal with it out of fear that you don't want to share it with anyone. You don't see the need. Yes, that's the temptation that I'm warning about. Because now that suppression is a defense mechanism. And the thing is, emotions do not go away unless validated and released. They do not go away. So suppression is postponing a problem. Okay? And that is why going for therapy is courage. Why? Not because of even what people will say, because you have yourself to face and say, I know a part of me is telling me don't go for therapy, don't ask for help, people are not trusted, my journey is going to be seen. I have all these reasons to not to do all these things, but I will do them nonetheless. I'm going to do them nonetheless. That's where courage comes in, that capacity to cut through all those reasons why you should not do what you're doing. I'm sure there are people who will say, I cannot go to the street, and they will tell you all the fears, and you will tell them what? Yeah, but go, your country needs you. You need, of course, it needs courage. It's your turn. Now go again, demonstrate against all those reasons, Zamzam. You need to go for demonstrations against them and tell them you are being unjust to me. Why are you preventing me from accessing the justice of peace and healing? So go out for demonstration and throw tear gas at them now. It's your turn. Okay? But be careful to be held captive by these memories, by these emotions, by this sense of self-sufficiency. It's a bad thing to have this, to think that I am enough by myself and I can solve my problems. You know, firstborns in the house and also middle children, I guess this is a big thing for you. You know, so just to be aware of that. Huh? Gladson is very true. Kwanza ukizoea kusaidia watu ni hivyo, it's hard to ask for help. Yeah, yeah. And then your mind starts to trick you that everyone sees you as if you don't need help, but it is you who is teaching them really. It's two-way. Unajua mimi watu wamezoea mimi ndio huwa nawasaidia. Maybe wamezoea kujua mimi ndio naweza saidia, hawezi nisaidia. Maybe there's truth to that, but also you have not taught them that you can ask, they can help you. No? So maybe also you are the one teaching them that I can only help you and you cannot help me. Yeah, so it could be happening to them because of what they have watched you do or the way they see you, yes. But that still does not justify that you can ask for help. So ask for help, you need it. Lawrence Mikali, in my view, asking and accepting support is good, but it also depends on how you identify your source of support. If you ask from the wrong people, they may even worsen your problem without question. Lawrence, that is without question. Of course, you don't go asking everyone for help, for sure. Even choosing a doctor, yeah, you gotta be careful who you go to a doctor to. Yeah, for sure. You don't walk to someone on the street and say, hey, tumeambiwa to share our problems. And the problem is like, what's wrong with you? And then you come and say, hey, I tried telling someone and they didn't listen. So choose the person you're asking for help. Of course, carefully. Are we being reimbursed for this meeting, please? Okay, I'm not. That is not on me. Okay, Catherine Monge, I had to leave. Very insightful, encouraging, very good. Thanks for joining. Okay, I will not respond to the reimbursement. Okay, now allow me to go now quickly towards now developing resilience, and that I don't take so much of your. I know supposed to finish by 6:30, then I can come back. There's a question on the polyvagal theory. I'll try to go back. Yeah, but if you want to know more about the polyvagal, I'm willing to explain to you. So psychological resilience. So developing psychological resilience, getting out of facing all these problems. Okay, number one. So it's important to understand what the resilience is. Some of us tend to think the resilience ni ile kung'ang'ana. Resilience is not perseverance. No. Apana. Resilience is when I am under unusual stress, alone or in group, I know how to find out, to navigate my way to the resources, whether they are physical, whether they are psychological, whether they are social, that can help sustain my well-being. That's what resilience is. Resilience, mimi ni mtu yule hasinaga jokes, nang'ang'ananga tu, No, that's not resilience. Resilience is I am able to say I am suffering and I need help out of this suffering. And I can find my way to those resources. Whether those resources are physical, material, whether they are psychological, like seeing a therapist or talking to a friend, or social, hanging out with someone, seeing a pastor, whatever it is. I know I'm under stress and I'm able to go for it. So if you're the kind of person who does not acknowledge your suffering and then find out your way to the places that can help you, you're not resilient. You're not resilient. Okay? You're just not wise. I will be blunt on that. So it's our ability to negotiate that these resources be provided to us in ways that we experience as meaningful. What do I mean? If you're speaking to a friend about something that you want, and they're not listening to you properly, are you able to tell them, I don't want you to give me advice, I just want you to sit there and listen? That means provide it in a way that's meaningful to me. To me. You're able to talk to Inuk and say, can you provide these resources in a way that's meaningful to me? Like, oh, that therapist, that psychologist who spoke to us today, I didn't find him very competent. He did not speak to me. Let's help us find psychologists who can do that. That's being resilient. Okay, I can negotiate for these resources in a way that is meaningful. Okay, so resilience is number one, navigating my way to those resources, and then trying to negotiate for those resources to be used in a way that's meaningful to me. So one of the ways to overcome, to deal with anxiety and to build resilience is working out. But you might tell me, for me, gym is not my place. Okay, what is the thing that works for you? For me, maybe just skipping rope, going for a walk, or dancing. That's what works. That is what is workout for me. So not everyone working out is gym, but what is yours? Can I be able to negotiate those resources to be meaningful to me as a person? And that's a difficult question to sometimes. People around you may not know how to love you until you tell them. And I'm going through something. For me, I just want to sit there and listen. Sio mnipeleke tukakunywe pombe. Sitaki pombe, nataka tu nisikilize. Able to tell them that. Yeah. So therefore, resilience is being vulnerable, and vulnerability is resilience. So what are some of the tips for developing resilience? One, of course, is optimism. And optimism is not toxic positivity, it's reframing negative thoughts, or, to positive. And we're going to see an example. Focusing on what is within your control, being proactive and not reactive. Okay, what's the difference? People who are reactive, they simply they see something happen and it strikes them and they're not able to process it and say, how can I respond differently? So people who are reactive don't know how to choose their responses. Yeah, mtu amekutukana, wewe ng'ombe. If you are reactive, you're like, hata wewe ni sufuria, ni mwiko. Then you start fighting back. Huh? But people who are proactive is, you're able to, that person is insulting me. Is that my problem? No. Should I engage with him? Should I pull myself to their level? That's being proactive. Separating yourself from the situation instead of allowing it to absorb you. And you have to use that with your spouse, with your children, so that you don't come home and you're tired. Then your child comes and they have not done their homework and you start beating them. Because now you're being reactive because of all the tiredness you have from work. And that's why the importance of resting. Meaning, finding purpose in your engagement. Do you find meaning in what you do as a human rights defender? Okay, do you find purpose and meaning in it? Number 3, adaptability. Are you so rigid in your worldview that you cannot change? Do you open to change, to changing the strategies, to changing your approach, to learning new ways of doing things, maybe to learn problem-solving skills? If I keep doing the same thing over and over again, that's what we call madness. People say it's Albert Einstein, but there's no evidence he ever said that. But anyway, to understand that, to be flexible, and finally, to detach myself away from the outcome. Okay, process of outcome. Plant a seed whose fruit you never eat. The reason for this is sometimes when you are a human rights defender, you want to see the results yesterday. We have been fighting this government since the time of Nyaya. Why are these things not changing? Okay, detach yourself from the outcomes. Simply stick to the process. I defend human rights. Okay, of course, I would want to see things changing, but if you focus so much on the outcome and the outcome gets too delayed, then the consequence is hopelessness and depression and resentment. So, and we know even from a psychological perspective that people who focus more on process-based goals than outcome-based goals do better in life. Like if I go to the gym because I want to lose weight or gain weight, versus another person who wants to go to the gym because they want to see themselves as a person who goes to the gym. The person who simply wants to see themselves as someone who goes to the gym will do better than the person who has outcome-based. So detach yourself and simply focus on the process if you want to have to do this over a long period of time. Okay? So good. So now characteristics that resilient people embody is they have a realistic sense of control over their choices and an understanding of limitations of such control. Lord, give me the grace to accept the things that I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference between those two. You need to understand, well, this is not within my control, at least not now. Okay, so are your feet on the ground? Because sometimes when you are a human rights defender, sometimes your feet you can be too much in the sky about what the site can be, but your feet are not on the ground. You might forget how much or how many people you can control, how much help you can give. So your feet on the ground. Number 2, seeing change as an opportunity or challenge. Okay, maybe this strategy is not working. Let me change. Instead of a rigid way. Mimi huwa nafanya kazi hivi. Mimi hivi ndo nililewa. This is what happened. No, good idea. Number 3, secure attachment with others. That means the ability to engage their support, to ask for help, to look for people who can help me. As we said, resilience is negotiating for those social resources. That means I'm able to look for a person who can help me and get to them. If a therapist number 1 did not help me, I look for a different therapist. Okay, then having some personal goals that are meaningful to me. Sense of humor. You need a strong sense of humor to survive the amount of darkness you see as a human rights defender. Patience. Changes will not come that easy. People don't change easily. Okay, a high level of tolerance for negative affect or negative emotions or negative feelings. okay? An optimistic outlook, as we have mentioned, and a high level of adaptability to change strategy. A good commander of war is the one who is constantly, has a good strategy, but also willing to change according to the movement of the enemy. Movement of the enemy. Like sometimes I like to read about the war between Ukraine and Russia, and you can see the constant adaptability of the army. This happened, they try to change the strategies to maintain or to be on top of the war. Okay, so this is important for your resilience, especially for you people in the human rights defense. There will always be rights to defend. And therefore, you need to have a very strong foundation, a very, very strong foundation of these things. Okay, Salima, if there's a question, just let me know, even as I go towards the conclusion. So two examples of resilience. As you can see, this is what resilience is: reaching out and asking for help. Not, oh, I can go, if this lady was like, I can go through this ditch alone. That's not resilience. No. It's, hey, I need help. So you face repeated setbacks, but remain optimistic, optimistic by celebrating small victories and maintaining a vision for change. Okay, so there's so many setbacks in the human rights industry or in business, as it were. So instead of having so much gloom and say, but we have done some little change. People are more sensitive now to their rights. That's good. So engage in meaningful community projects that give you a sense of purpose. Another example would be a social worker adapts to the high stress environment by implementing stress reducing techniques like going for a run, right? Journaling, as I mentioned to you, going for therapy. So she stays flexible in her approach to challenges and learns from experience, the experience of others, of herself. So that capacity for adaptability is very, very important for people in the work that you do. It's very, very important. Okay, so how do you cope properly? Exercise, very, very important. Moving your body is very, very important. Like, this is my time, I'm going for a run. I'm going to do some push-ups. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do some aerobics. I'm going to dance. I'm going to skip rope. Very, very important. I cannot emphasize people the importance of moving your body. And especially those exercises that raises your heart rate. Those exercises that raise your heart rate. Very, very important. They help produce painkillers. We call them endorphins in your body that helps to manage pain. And if you're in the business of experiencing people's pain like a counseling psychologist or human rights defender, the more you need a huge collection of these painkillers. So working out, taking a bath. Sisemi tu uoge mwili, just that sense of just remaining in the shower. Of course, depending on the amount of water you have, you don't want to waste water, depending on where you are. And sometimes just taking that bath slowly, and you're out. Oga tu pole pole. This is your time, pole pole to oga. Mos, be with yourself at that point. Okay? Give yourself a pep talk. It's also encouragement. Meditation. Just simply sitting down and focusing on your breath. Working on managing your time. Asking for support. This is important. Establishing healthy boundaries, meaning, no, I'm not going to do that. But those people need you. No, it's my time now to be. I can't save everyone. It's okay. I can please call someone else. And I don't have to feel guilty or shame because of that. And of course, creating a to-do list so that you don't feel overwhelmed. And as I conclude, seeking professional help is important. Recognizing the need, like I have these persistent negative feelings, I'm not functioning at work properly, in my relationships, I've never had. Some of us who don't know how to balance ourselves, maybe even have never dated for a long period of time, because we don't even have the time, We don't even have the time. And the other person comes and says, hey, we moved to not even find time. It is me, it is not you. No, it is actually, maybe they don't want to say it is you. So your relationships are not you with your children. Maybe you want to date, but you have not found that balance. Maybe you have had thoughts of self-harm, or you're harming yourself, suicidal thoughts, unhealthy coping behaviors, whether it's things like the ones that you mentioned in here, and knowing that going for therapy early matters, and therapy is not a weakness. And for us at MyAfia Africa, we are there for you, as I mentioned to you. So you can go to our site. This is our site. In fact, the picture on the screen is our site, and we are very much willing to help you. Okay. So just as a summary, take care of yourself. Regulate. That means try to exercise, try to sleep enough, ensure that you're eating properly, food. Relate, have good friends, social connection, and reason. Try to write down what is happening to you. This is just a summary of what I mentioned. Find a rhythm, walking, swimming, music, coloring, painting, breathing, exercises, dance, something that separates you from human rights and gives you a good break. And remember, having friends, connection, whether with a therapist, with a friend, is the most important part of resilience. The most important you're dealing with pain. And of course, a philosophy of life that helps you to explain the pain of life. Because there will always be the darkness of the devil. Some people have maybe their faith, the Christian faith, that helps them to know that, as Christ says, I have overcome the world. So that awareness that there will be suffering, but Christ has overcome the world can give a Christian hope. What is your philosophy of life? What is your philosophy of life? And so here is a random checklist. You can choose what works for you. Is it physical fitness, nutrition and hydration, sleeping well and resting, and especially ensuring that your waking up time is consistent, especially the waking time. Don't change your waking up time too much. Your body does not adapt well to someone who keeps changing their waking up time. Assertiveness skills, that means be able to say no, centering and solitude, being by yourself and saying, this is time just for me. I am off technology, my phone is off, maybe just with me and my journal, I just write my things. I know some things are happening out there, but my phone is off. Just, this is time for me. Emotional supervision by going through therapy, creative activities, fun and enjoyment. Maybe some of us have never even gone for something fun, ever. Going for support, providing support, but also receiving support. Set and monitor goals. And all these are meditation and things that you can do. Okay? So, very good. I will not ask this question because we have run out of time.
But
just
there's
the questions here.
there is one on the chat box by Maurice Odhiambo.
Okay. We are doing well. So Maurice Odhiambo says, Thomas Sankara. Yeah. Great man. Said you need a certain level of madness to commit social change. Yes. If you're too careful, you cannot be a change agent. What is your thinking about this in regard to that? I would say this. Choose carefully the cross you want to bear. Pick carefully the cross you want to bear. Because every choice you make is a note to other choices. Okay? So if you're going to choose to commit to this social change without this certain level of madness, you know very well you might be putting your spouse and children at risk or something like that. Is that something that you want? That's something that you want. So, and that's why in English we say pick your poison and pick it carefully. Okay? So I am okay with this idea of complete commitment. But what I'm saying, it has to come from a place of internal freedom. When people say, I'm okay to die for this, I'm okay. What if you do all these and Kenyans are not grateful? Because sometimes Kenyans are not grateful. I'm okay. I'm committed to the cause. I'm committed to a value system. So if that is what you want, then go for it. The society has been changed by people like that oftentimes, yes. But the problem for me with this kind of thinking is it sustainable? Is it sustainable? Sometimes change without changing the culture is not sustainable. It's like what happens to many countries in Africa. Yes, people fought and died for independence. And then was there a culture that was able to sustain the independence that was fought for? Or did we simply change the colonizer? Okay, so sometimes sustainable change for me seems to be the one that takes its time by, like, you see the way people read about the bill that was to be passed, the finance bill, and therefore they responded from, there's a change in culture. They are now more competent than simply that quick change that might happen from that level of madness. Okay, now I'm not putting down those people who do. I'm just saying, if that is your path, choose it by all means. But then be careful about the people who might suffer by that choice. Are you ready for that? Are you ready for that? Do you want to lose your children to save the nation? So that's something important. That's what I would say, Maurice, to that question. There are some questions asked here. Victorine Geruto, I love this session. It's very good. I'm sorry I have to go. Thank you, the host and the presenter, for the presentation. Great. Salma, please send this. I would want to have it for breakfast tomorrow, but not. Hope you will share the notes for future use. Yeah, good presentation. The Dominican was the slide. It's come the right time. Thank you so much for the organizer. Okay, great evening. So I wanted us to discuss this question, but I think our time is up. But my last challenge, Salima, to the group is it possible to make this place a place for, for liveliness, a place of safety and peer support and collaboration? Can we be here? Can we be there for each other, even in this place? Are we busy saving everyone else, whereas our own house is burning? That is my only question for you all. Otherwise, I think we have already answered the question. So thank you very much. Salima?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dominic. And now people can confirm that I learned from the best psychologists. Dominic was my lecturer at the university, so you can attest that I learned from the best. And also thank you even for validating that we need help, and we need also to normalize help. And I know we had this conversation with you when you told me I could facilitate this session. But again, I'm also one of the frontliners, and I also needed just to learn and relax and also hear from other people, because as an organization, as a person, I've been supporting the civic actors during the protests with offering psychological and emotional help, and also doing a lot of referrals. So indeed, you're validating what you're saying in terms of we all need to seek help and also acknowledge when we need that help. So thank you so much for everyone who've made time to join. Thank you, and thank you. Please just follow us up on our social media platforms. I think Joanne had shared, and we shall be posting the recordings there and also other resources around this topic and other topics that we've had previously, and also just engages on which other topics you think are thank you, Bogore. Which other topic? Yes, Dominic.
Is Olivia who is asking me for me to go through that dorsal and ventral sympathetic systems. Maybe Olivia, you can reach out to Salima and I can respond to you, because I don't know if there are many people who want to that question, but I can find time to explain that to you, so you can get my contacts from Salima. And someone anonymous, I just want to respond to this quickly because you sent this question, I think, earlier and I forgot to see it. Whenever I have stress or this anonymous question, that doesn't want to be seen. Someone talked to me, kunipigia kelele, kuniongelea vibaya, kuniaibisha mbele ya watu, I develop ulcers. So what you might need here is the capacity for assertiveness. The skill that you need here is assertiveness skills. Huh? The capacity to stand up for yourself, okay? You might be struggling with people pleasing. Sometimes people who have a savior complex also are people pleasers. So sometimes you are so keen on not hurting other people that you don't express your need or your pain. So it's important to learn that people pleasing is not loving people. Being a conflict avoidant might be the result of all this, that you're not able to stand up for yourself, okay? Salima, I wrote to stop there. I know Olivia is saying, please, I go through that, but I don't know if I have the time. So I'm gonna
Olivia, kindly just share your number and then I can reach directly to you. Odidi Kennedy, I've seen your number. I've taken it. I've taken note. We shall share directly to your WhatsApp. And if other people are also interested in receiving the recording and maybe the notes from Dominic, we can put them on our pages. But if you need like a personalized email or maybe a WhatsApp, just share your contacts before we close the session. That is Olivia. Let me just take your number, and also Gladstone, and then I shall do that privately. Where did it go? Just 1 minute, Olivia. 1 minute, Alan, and before you lock the session out. Actually, let me just do this. Let me share my number, and please just use it responsibly. This is my personal number. And then if you have any concerns, just reach me out. I hope it's, let me see. I think it is easier that way. text me with your name so that at least I can be able to save it and then reach out. Yeah, so that's my number. Please, that's my personal number. Please use it responsibly. As Dominic has told us, please, I don't expect calls at night or WhatsApp messages. Asanteni sana. We keep engaging on our social media platforms. Thank you so much, Dominic. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.